This is one of the best universities we have in terms of the structure right now. And I was quite moved entering and seeing the facility. It's a great facility. I mean, this is awesome. And this is what we want to see in our country. The privilege to actually come and share and then learn as well, because there's a saying that when we teach, we learn twice. When you are teaching others, you take a special place in the lives of people. You are no ordinary person teaching other people. And this is acknowledged by Aristotle, who said that those who give birth to children have done some job, but those who teach them, I'm just trying to paraphrase because it's already there. Those who teach them have even done better because they have given them the art of living. All of us here may have gotten some understanding about a person coming in the universe, almost like an empty slip. You don't have anything. What I want to say up front is for us to have the consideration that we are very important in the lives of students who will be coming here, and we must do everything possible to play that role in their lives. And we cannot afford to not perform the job that we are to perform. That's the first thought I wanted to bring our attention to, and I stated this from the beginning. You will get better and better as you teach other people, because you yourself will go ahead, will explore, even though you may have read some concepts earlier, but then at the same time as you are coming to teach, you cannot just teach what you just learned when you were in a particular class then. No, knowledge is doubling according to research in every 5 years. So what you learned then, if you got your degree 5 years ago or 10 years ago, knowledge in that domain has doubled. And then you still need to be fresh. You need to keep learning. You need to keep adding up so you'll be ready for the task ahead. So I just thought you see the teacher and the aspect of learning twice. All right. I just want you to look at the picture there. And I want you to look at it keenly. And perhaps I'll just ask one or two persons to tell me, and I ask the question there, what do you see and what lesson can you draw? But there's something I want to draw your attention to. And I want you to pay key attention to this. All of us in this room have the contents. There is no one in this room who is empty. What that means is that you have some knowledge, some materials in your head, and some available outside. So this guy had an elephant. The purpose of this is to commute, to take you without you carrying the load, but rather he placed it in the other way. Here, this guy is in a troubling situation where the water, the road is not good, but because he knows how to navigate in the process, how to go through, he will be able to go through. In the classroom, you are going to encounter some difficult situations with the students, and if you don't know the pedagogy, you cannot navigate easily. You may want to take them on your back, and that is going to hamper the way you will do things. That's what we are focusing on, is pedagogy. So pedagogy is like, pedal, right? Yeah, P-E-D-A-L. It's something you use to push another stuff for it to roll, to keep moving. So we need it. And you don't just need it in this workshop alone. It may not be sufficient. You yourself may need to devote some attention to getting, how can I commute? Now I have the contents. No one here is lacking in content. You need more, you add more, but you need how to transport the content to make students learn. I always put it that if you know the process, you can proceed with confidence. And if we want to use a dictionary definition, and It's just an art, science, or profession of teaching. That's pedagogy. So, like I said, teaching by itself is a profession. We are coming now in the profession because we are practitioners in some areas, but yet still, if we don't learn the means, we are not teachers. I mean, you don't want to hear this, but that's the truth. That is the hard truth. You can have the content, but the transportation is lacking. You cannot transport it the best way possible. My encouragement or advice is actually pay some attention here, because now you are joining the teaching profession. Your information is key. I cannot teach accounting. I don't have the content, right? Or if, of course, if I want to teach it, then I have to spend some time. But if I have the accounting knowledge, I must also learn how can I transfer it for others to get it. That is the kind of effort you need to make for yourselves. And this is just an eye-opener to do that. So pedagogy is just that way of helping us to work around the theory and practice of learning. So learning itself has a way it should happen. We are trying to exclude or trying to put it aside from practice and making it real. As much as we can, if we cannot make the contents attached to context and practice, then they only have it for some time. Then we make the minds of the learners as storeroom, like they keep it for some time, it disappears. As much as we can, we have to look for application. What are they going to begin using? This is now a particular major. You should always have things that you should be able to carry away from any lesson done. And the openness and the trust, the innovation, the creativity, all of us will need to have some level of creativity to make your class work well. As part of pedagogy, and we're talking about the psychological aspect of it, there are theories of learning psychology. How does learning happen? We have to be aware of how learning happens, because that's the only way we will be able to do the job well. Remember, if you know the process, you can proceed with confidence. And if you don't, you cannot proceed with confidence. So it's not to discourage you, but to just have an encouragement that now I have a lot of contents, I can become a great teacher by exploring and knowing how learners learn. And in that way, I will do much better. So understanding students and their needs, and then also looking at their backgrounds and interests, all come in pedagogy and in pushing students to learn. Let's talk about psychology as a force for effective teaching and learning. I studied educational psychology at graduate and postgraduate levels. And one of the things we realize is that if you don't understand people, how they may think or predict their actions, or how they may react in certain situations, or how their behavior can be conditioned or shifted, or how they will process the information, or what they are going through, you cannot make the person learn. Now, this is even applicable in leadership. In leadership, one of the things that can happen is that most of the leaders want to force people to do things. That's one way to do it, but it's the wrong way to do things. The best way to do things is to make people want to do things. You cannot force students to learn. This is not an information that may be looking like as an interesting information. But the use of force for people to learn is just the wrong way. Because even yourself, take it as a case in point. Do you want to be forced to do something? No. You really want to find a need or encourage in the way to take action to doing it. Many of us get in the classroom and begin to constrain and force learners, whereas we have not created the desired want in the learners. If at all, for any reason that we have not created that, the classroom will not be friendly. And the students must be able to fall in love with you. And I'm talking about romantic love here, meaning they like your course. They must like you first before they like your course. There is no one who will really love what you are giving them when they don't love you. The love starts with you. So your job is, and this is psychology, right? Psychology, we have been informed that learners have needs, and we must create in them a desire for them to want what we are giving them. If for any reason we go beyond that, Abraham Maslow will give us the hierarchy of needs. The need of education is the upper part of the pyramid. In other words, there are physiological needs, there are safety needs, there are other needs before self-actualization. You cannot give self-actualization when the needs of being loved, being secure, being safe are being abandoned. There is a way in the classroom we can make all those to be neglected because we care less. And then you just care about the materials that you are pulling on students. Wrong. Very wrong. We need to first make sure to create a desire in the learners. Best teachers inspire. Best teachers, that's the highest part of teaching. To explain, to give some stuff. But if you inspire the learners, they continue. Part of what is holding some of our students back is lack of inspiration from the teachers. You think you can teach the students all the things they need to know in the course? That's a lie. It's not possible. Time will not permit you, and other factors will not permit you. You need to inspire the learners so they can take ownership of their learning. And in that way, whether you are there, you are not there, they continue the job. In instructional supervision, we say when a supervisor leaves and people are celebrating, that's a bad supervisor. So when you are absent and the students are happy, you are also a bad teacher. That's very frank. A good teacher will be missed by students. When you now miss your dad who loves and cares for you so much, you will. They will be happy to have their own leverage. Are we saying that we are leaving our students without control? That's not it. The fact of the matter of what we are doing is we are making them want to do it. Your first job in pedagogy and in psychology is to make somebody want it because everybody wants to be important. Self-importance is one of the things that we like best. So if students are not learning and you are teaching, you are taking a walk. And you are walking alone. Don't walk alone. Make sure your students are coming with you, and in fact they can go and do exploit. Our students are not stupid. Sorry to use that word. Our students are as studious as any other students outside of Liberia or in the world. In fact, one of the things I've noticed is that Liberians most often when we go out, we can outperform. I was not one of the best graduates here on a graduate, but one of the top students in my department. One of the problems is that we make sure the learning is hard for people or they don't love it. And we think we are succeeding, we cannot succeed. Don't be a teacher who will make things hard. Innovation will require that things will get easier, smoother, better, faster, and leverage is created. So if you are a teacher who will just make things tough and, don't do it. Because it will not take you far. It will eventually resort to our other issues. You are awakening the curiosity in the young learners. That is your job. Your job is not to just recommend textbooks, give a lot of pamphlets. No. That is just a minute portion of your job. Your job is to awaken the curiosity in the learners so they move on. Whether you are sleeping, you are out of class, they are working. That's what we need to do. Let me just talk briefly about the theories. So you need to explore learning theories. Theories are important because They are the basis for action. When you take an action in the classroom, what is the bargain? What is the basis for your action? Do you have something that is proving that this is going to work? Or you are just testing the water? You can test the waters. There are people who have come before us, who have done some job. We can sit on their mat and plant news. So we need a theorist. And there are 3 core theories in psychology. The first one is behaviorism. Behaviorism is the analysis of internal and external factors, meaning maybe from the parent side, there are some factors you develop that could challenge your own development, but then the external factors, the environment, sometimes we call it nature or nurture. But these factors play a key role in transforming the learners, and again, if we don't know them, it's not sufficient that will promote the kind of learning that is needed. Think about stimulus and response and reinforcements. All what learning is conditioning or changing the behavior, transforming it. If it were this way, it doesn't know how things should happen, and then you are now getting things ready to change it. And then you have positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. One of the problems we have in our system is that we over-enforce negative reinforcement. It's bad. Nobody wants to be treated bad. There is a golden rule that treat others as you would like to be treated. If you are the one in the classroom, will you like that to happen to you? So every time you make a move, you must have consideration. If you were the one in that class, what will happen? We have to limit negative reinforcement. In fact, it gets worse with negative reinforcement without explanation. For example, you beat your child and leave them to think why you beat them for. That's a bad way to discipline a child, because in the long run, you create hate and cruelty in them. So every time you even apply reinforcement, it has to be followed by education, by counseling the learner and bringing them to a certain part. We took this action for you to stay out or do X, Y, Z, because if you continue this and go in the larger society, it will have implications even for your own character, for your family, and the society. They must have some education for every time you use negative reinforcement, because that's the thing. You cannot leave them to think why. And the worst thing in parenting is for your child to accept your reinforcement as normal. Whereas they say, for beating, they'll just beat me at all. So every time they come, whether you beat them, they not get time. You move so that beating right, they'll go and do it again, you can't beat them again. That conditioning is terrible. If your students get used to, okay, he'll do this for me, he'll do this, they're already used to that exercise, they can run away with it. We can't condition them to a bad way of it. We must be able to positively reinforce. Has somebody done something marvelous in the class? They need to be encouraged. Has somebody, done something in a school that is so well for the department? They need to be exposed. Then others will look at that and copy to say, okay, this is a good behavior. That's conditioning. We encourage others. So watch that in your class. Every class you handle, you must look there for students that are doing exceptional, even in business, in the community. Sometimes if you see your student doing exploit in the community, say it in the classroom. Tell the other learners, oh, I'm so proud of this Esther. She's doing X, Y, Z. She was on a campaign cleaning. That's positive reinforcement. Then other people want to act because everybody wants goodness. You want to feel important. In psychology, we must give people self-importance. The other part is, how is information processed? If I'm giving 3 textbooks for 1 semester, can that information be processed? No. Summarize this book and this XYZ may be some good rituals as we may think, but again, we must know how the information is processed. If we don't know cognitive theory, we cannot also know how this information is being processed. The needs of people. We talk much about this. A teacher who is insensitive to the plight of the student cannot succeed as a teacher. I have seen the awards of best teachers in XYZ. In fact, your job as an instructor here is not only here, it's beyond here. If you are only serving the student in class, you are average. You will be an average teacher if your responsibility is just come here, give your notes, and go home. No. The students need more than that. They need some practical experience as an expert in this field. They may need some advice if they are making some moves. There may be time for seminar to give them something that they couldn't have gotten in the class. So your job again is not just to come and teach here and move. That's the work of average teachers. Of course, if you choose to be an average teacher, you can just do that and walk away with it. But if you want yourself to go farther, you must go the extra mile. The extra mile will require extra time and extra effort. And if you do that, I'm sure you'll be able to succeed. All right, different strategies are available to use. These I think you can read. But the basic thing is that every time you come to class, you must have something you want to achieve. And make sure you try to achieve it. Don't just come to tell stories. Of course, they are good for learning, but in order for teaching to be effective, there must be a purpose. And that purpose must be accomplished in its time of the instruction. Don't come ill-prepared. If you can't be prepared, sometimes you will just take the learners far from the intent of what you are presenting. But the teacher must have clear idea of what learning is to be fostered, meaning there is a goal for the class. The 1 hour has a goal. The 1.5 or 3 hours, there is a goal. And make sure you work on that goal and that it is achieved. In fact, this is in a success arena. Anything we want to do, we must first identify and go to work. There are also strategies you can use in your lectures, group stuff, demonstrating practical classes, active learning. You can have problem solving, work-based. Most of the things we have gone through them, but they are just some of the strategies we may use with the learners. We can't just all the time just either give them assignment to go do it home, or just talk the whole while and they ask you questions at the end, and that's the only thing. We have to be diverse. We have to be dynamic and use different strategies to be able to do well. These are other things that you need to do to be successful. Somebody recommended this in an article. I just thought to put it there. Knowledge of teaching and learning, you need it, particularly if your major has not been education. Education is a field. And if you come into it, you must try to get some things around it. Again, what you got may not be enough. Accept every student that enters the door. You cannot treat or prefer others because they are doing quite well. Some of the C students will be the A students outside. Some of your A students may be the one who will be D students outside. You must create the room to accept. You must be able to plan your instruction to achieve the objective. You must teach variety of strategies. You must be able to assess fairly. Don't allow your momentum to die. It's chapter 7 of my first book. When you start to teach after several months, your momentum, your zeal to teach here will start to decline. We know that because people who say I do at their wedding ceremonies, the love will begin to get weary. Until you can reactivate and strengthen that, it will even go to the point of someday staying away without even calling the president or your chairman. You need to keep your passion. The passion you have come with now to teach at this one of the funniest in terms of infrastructure at this point. Okay, at this point we can only say in terms of infrastructure, but it can also be in terms of excellence. But that will be our responsibility. So make sure you keep the passion, the energy you've started or you are starting with. Remember the elephant. I'm concluding. You have to remember the elephant. You do have the elephant. do have the contents right now. No one here, I said, is empty. Everybody here has some important materials to share with learners that will be beneficial. But, and again, take cognizance of but if you don't know how to give it to them, they will not receive it. You cannot give it to them sitting on your back. You need to see their faces. You need to see how they are receiving it. And you need to see how they are applying it. And how the transformation is taking place. In that way, you will not be using your position as a faculty member here, as a lecturer here, for its intended purpose. Thank you.